Hello, everybody. My name is Ian Kirkpatrick. I am an author and robot, and today I want to talk about Netgalley for the indie author specifically. Is it worth your time? Is it worth your effort? Is it worth your money? But before we get started, a couple of things. Number one, if you would like to be featured on this channel, check out the two links below. Number one is Lamai, which is the monthly writing exercise on this channel. I give you guys a prompt, you fill it out, send it back to me, and the first video of the month, if there are submissions, is read with credit to you if you want to direct people to your social media or sales pages. So there's that. And then number two, if you have creative projects currently on the marketplace, check out PitchFit, where, I don't know why, I've got so many freaking bubbles around my head right now. It's just happening. For whatever reason. I apologize for all of the bubbles happening. Anyway, other thing is PitchFit. If you are creative and you've got stuff out on the marketplace, check out that link where you pitch to me and then I pitch on this channel, and hopefully readers and creatives find each other. So with that said, if you enjoy what I do on this channel, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. It lets me know if I'm doing anything right. And then let's go ahead and get started. So Netgalley. First off, what is Netgalley? Netgalley is an online galley. Great description there. A galley is a place to look at books before they come out, really. The two major websites for pre-release free copy, or what is known as ARC copy, advanced reader copy books, are Netgalley and Edelweiss. Those are two very similar programs that big publishers, the big five, actually use. You'll find Stephen King, you'll find all of a lot of the big authors actually debut their books on these websites before they release, to get readers before the book release, to build buzz and get reviews. So indie authors also have the ability to use these websites to find new readers and to get exposure on their books. They can be pretty pricey. Netgalley offers a discount if you are an IBPA member, so there is that, and the discount definitely does help. So once you purchase a Netgalley placement, just like a basic placement, you have the choices of 3 months or 6 months for your ebook, and 1, 2, or 3 months for your audiobook, because they also do audiobooks. Then once you've got that, they'll send you instructions with all of the information and metadata that you need to submit to them, as well as a place to submit your book cover and your ebook that will be placed on the website. Once it is on the website, it'll be listed for up to 3 to 4. Once it is on the website, it'll be listed for 3 to 6 months. At the end of your listing period, Netgalley will send you a handful of reports. Now these reports come in 3 Excel spreadsheets and then 1 PDF that is a snapshot of responses to your books. I'm going to show you guys the snapshots. I'm not going to show you the Excel spreadsheets because those have user information on them, and I don't want to dox anybody accidentally, but I will tell you what those 3 Excel spreadsheets reports are and how you could use them to benefit your writing career. So one of the files that Netgalley sends you in the end of everything is called the Netgalley Opinion Report. And so once readers have checked out your book and responded to your book, they're also asked a couple of questions, especially depending on what type of reviewer they are. So the main 4 segments of reviewers that you'll find on this are general reviewers, which may have a personal blog or be on a book blog. You've got educators, you've got booksellers, and you've got librarians. And each of these groups of people are offered different questions. You'll be given a survey at the end of your stay that asks questions like, would you like to have this author at your bookstore to do signings? Will you carry this book in your store? Would you recommend this book? Would you like to have this author visit your blog or ask this author questions? So you'll get that, and you'll also get email addresses for these people. So that'll all be in the list. You'll get the answers to their questions, and you can choose what to do with those lists, such as responding to the people via email, adding them to your mailing list, all of those things. The next one that you'll get is the feedback spreadsheet, and it lists the name, the company that they were for, the member type, bookseller, librarian, educator, whatever, and what their response was. So you'll get the star rating, and you'll get what their actual posted book reviews are. So once your book is archived, you'll still have those records of who responded with what. And again, you can add those to your mailing list. So when you're doing your next release, you can see say who gave you a 4-star, who gave you a 5-star, so that you can tell them about your next release, warn them that it's going on to Netgalley, and or send them a link to your new Netgalley thing so they can check out your new book if they're interested. Finally, the last Excel spreadsheet that you will get is called the Detailed Activity Spreadsheet. And the detailed activity list will tell you how many people checked out your book in total, what book it was, the date that it was requested, when they were approved, what the approval status was in case you reject or accept them, and if they reviewed it. I think it says that, and it gives you their email addresses and the type of reviewer and their names and their companies and all of that good noise. So I'm going to leave this one open because I'm going to want to mention it later. Now, one thing that you do need to know if you are doing Netgalley as an indie press or a self-publisher is that you do not have the ability to reject reviewers. So that's one of the major differences on Netgalley when it comes to indie pub versus a big publisher is indie publishers and small presses are not given the option to sift through people that request the book. It's just everybody who requests the book gets the book. So if you see, that's also one of the things that you'll notice with the big five publishers is they will constantly have like really, really high ratings of 4s, 5s mostly. And that is because they can pick and choose who is allowed to look at their books. And they can also basically penalize people for giving low ratings. Like if reviewers constantly give low ratings or have an average lower rating, then big five publishers can just reject them and not allow, or if they've given a lower rating on an ARC copy before, big five publishers can actually just reject their request to read this book because they've shown that they are not just going to give it a high review. Now, does that always happen? No. But it is important to know that big five publishers have that ability, and indie publishers are more likely to get a spread of different review types because you have no choice of who is coming for you. So there is that. Get ready for the pain. When you put your book on Netgalley, Edelweiss, or any other ARC reader website, get ready for the pain. It's coming right to your inbox, unless you set up a completely separate email inbox for the reviews to go to. So another thing that you should know about posting your book on Netgalley is that you might have it posted for 3 to 6 months, but you can continually still receive reviews after the book has been archived. And this is because anybody who requested your book while it was on Netgalley will still have access to it after the book has been archived. And it also means that they can still post reviews on Netgalley after it has been archived. I found this out with the Dead End Drive when I got a book review like a year after, maybe not quite a year after, it was on Netgalley. And I was like, how is this still receiving reviews on Netgalley? It's not on there anymore. So know that just because it's archived, it doesn't mean that people don't have access to it. If they request it, it's in their library. They can look at it whenever they want. So from there, let's go ahead and look at what the snapshots look like and what to do with this information and how it all breaks down. So this is the snapshot page. It's a 2-page document. And this is the snapshot page for Bleed More, Body More, which I just listed since it just came out on Sunday. I had actually started this listing back in July, you'll see right here, so that it could have 3 months basically up until when it released on October 31st. So some of the best planning requires 3 to 6 months ahead of time for ARC copies to start building. From this page, you can see that it made 2,569 impressions and it had 420 clicks to read. And if I open the Excel spreadsheet, I don't even think it says that many. It says about 300 were approved and checked it out. So about 300 people actually did take it, and these guys this many clicked to read. I got while it was active. So this report comes the day after your book is archived, and so it received 34 reviews at the time of closing. I have received a couple more reviews after this, but it's also on audiobook right now, so there is that. 34 feedbacks, 30 reviews, and then social shares and views were higher. You also see the breakdown here with the members' activity. I don't know what the difference is between members with access versus clicked to read. That might be, I think clicked to read is clicked into more details to see what was going on. So a fairly high percentage requested access to read after they clicked into the file. Anyway, so you'll see a summary of the cover ratings, how many said up yes or no, and reasons for requests, so you can see what is working and what is not working to get people's attention. the description is working, the cover is working, hearing about the book is interesting because you can watch over time as hearing about a book goes up maybe, or hearing about an author. And then you'll see your star average breakdown. On the next page, so now you know when I mentioned on the feedback Excel spreadsheet that there were questions that different people were asked depending on who they were? On the second page, you'll get a summary of what the answers were for those different groups. So like with booksellers, suggest to carry it in the store, nominate for Indie Next List, educators, librarians, media, and reviewer opinions interested in an author review versus would you purchase this book for yourselves or someone else. So then you can have a snapshot look at the different groups responding to your work. It's interesting to compare. So this was for Bleed More, Body More, urban fantasy, magical realism. I listed it as horror, sci-fi, fantasy, and general fiction because there was no option for urban fantasy or magical realism, and it was kind of hard to place. And so knowing your genre is very important in finding your readership. It's also very interesting to look at the reviews from this because you'll have people that say this is absolutely not horror, and then you'll have other people that say this is absolutely horror. So it's all just very interesting. But knowing kind of ideas of what your genre are is going to be so important for this. But we'll get to that at the end on when I tell you whether or not I think Netgalley is worth it for indie authors. In comparison, let's look at Dead End Drive's snapshot, which is a year ago. If you look at this, Dead End Drive has about half as many impressions and so many fewer people clicked to read. But it did get more feedback while it was there. It also got fewer shares. But it also got, if you look down here, see, now I don't even know what that is. It also got many fewer people rating the cover. This one had so many people rating the cover. And the description pulled most people in over here. About twice as many people responded to the reasons for request. And then obviously you'll see the different numbers way over here. Dead End Drive was way more transgressive than Bleed More, Body More was. That's for sure. It's reflected in the variations over here. And then again, we scroll down and we see the different questions answered by different people, the different groups of people. So those are super helpful for just getting a snapshot of how your book is released, and it can help with understanding maybe different areas you might want to work on for your next release or in preparation for launching the book. Like if people aren't clicking it because of the description, if it feels like the description is struggling, if it feels like the cover is struggling, that could tell you in there. I'm not super worried about people looking at me for the author name because I'm pretty much an unknown at this point. And so knowing that that stuff is working is fairly helpful. Now, do I think that Netgalley is worth it as... Now, do I think... Now, the $1 million question, or rather it's like a $250 question for an IVP member for 3 months. Do I think that Netgalley is worth it for indie authors? I think it depends on what your goals are and how much work you've put into your indie book. As a literal that's who I am. I don't have a following. I don't have a publicist. I don't have really any way to really get out there. I might own all of those things. And so I am forced to figure out ways to get my book in front of other people. And I think Netgalley is worth it if you're willing to put in the work to get your book up to industry standard as an indie publisher or as a self-publisher. Now that means having a very clear-cut, a well-crafted description and a professional-looking cover. If your cover does not match the genre, or suggest the genre and the age group for your book, it's going to be harder, I think, on Netgalley. So clearly, I also didn't really get, if you look at big publisher, big 5 publisher books on Netgalley, they can have thousands of responses. They can have hundreds of reviews, thousands of like ratings for the cover, and hundreds of reviews. Because they're well known, they're well publicized, they get out there. I'm hoping maybe someday I'll get up to 50 and slowly, raise up how many responses I get prior to release. At this time of publishing, I would say Dead End Drive had about 45 reviews just using Netgalley before it came out. And then I put the audiobook up about 6 months later, and it went up to 64, 65 ratings. between random people finding it and people finding it through NetGalley. With Bleed More Body More, I had the ebook up for 3 months and then the audiobook up for the last month. I think the audiobook is still currently going for 1 more week if you want to get your hands on the audiobook for Bleed More Body More. But so those were simultaneous. And at this moment, it's got just over 50, but it's only been available to the public for about 3 months, whereas Dead End Drive is at 60 or is at 85 and has been available to the public for about a year and a couple of months. I think those are pretty good numbers for somebody with literally no following. But like I said, you are going to need to invest in making sure that your cover represents the genre and the age group of the book, because those are the things, especially as a no-name with no backing, those are the things that are going to draw people to your book. If your book is an adult book, but it has a cover that looks like it's for a YA group, or it's for a middle grade group, or it's for a comic book, it might not do as well. It's very important to know the user base of NetGalley or Edelweiss. Other options like these include Book Sirens and Hidden Gems, and I think those are both places that you can just list your book and it'll send them out to readers. I don't know if Book Tunnel actually sends books out to readers. I haven't used Book Tunnel. I haven't used Hidden Gems yet either. I did use Book Sirens, and Book Sirens got maybe 4 to 7 reviews in the time that it was listed there, and it was listed there for 3 months as well. Book Sirens, I think, is a good option for finding readers that have no idea who you are, and it is much more... It fits into a budget much better, because with Book Sirens, you pay $10 for a flat fee at the beginning, and then $2 for every person that picks up your book later. So then you're not spending the couple of hundred that NetGalley requires, and you're possibly finding new readers. I think having some sort of ARC program like NetGalley, like Book Sirens, like Edelweiss is very important, especially for indie readers, in order to give you some sort of legitimacy. Because so many indie authors, one, they never really find an audience, or they don't find an audience outside of other writers. And there is something about, like, writers who read and readers in general are such very different people, and they offer very different ways of doing feedback. If you're willing to invest in pretty decent editing or time editing and getting a professional looking cover, I do think NetGalley is worth it in order to expose yourself to a wider range of readers. Because like I said, you will be posted alongside books coming from the Big Five, coming from well-known authors. They all get posted on this website. And so you'll see booksellers and librarians and professional people and people that work for media outlets and different entertainment outlets go on this website and look for books. So you'll see all of this exposure to all of these different places. And if they like your book, they'll ask to carry it in their store, they'll ask to carry it in their library, and you'll get further exposure. So if you're going to do something like this, try to make your book industry standard. If you're not ready or you don't know what that means, then I would avoid using NetGalley. Maybe start out with something like Book Sirens or like Hidden Gems, but still start working up to understand what it is that are industry expectations for cover, for genre. So this kind of goes back to when I mentioned it's very important to know what your genre is, because that's what's going to set the expectations of the readers when they open your book. Like I said, with Bleed More Body More, one of its difficulties is that it mixes a couple of different things. And so placing it into a specific genre is very tricky. Obviously, it's got elements of horror. It's got elements of urban fantasy. It's got elements of literary fiction because it's character-driven and not plot-driven. And so dropping it in any of these can turn off some readers and seem completely wrong for other readers, and then be judged for being completely wrong. The similar thing happened with the Dead End Drive because it's satire horror, and some people would look at it and go like, they have very deliberate versions of they have very specific definitions of what horror is, and instead of seeing like survival horror as a legitimate horror, they're thinking of like monster horror, they're thinking of slasher horror, which is all different than survival horror. So knowing how to describe your book and court the specific people in the specific genres is very important. But also, when you post on something like this, you have absolutely no control over who responds to your book, how they see your book, and how they will review your book. And that is scary. And honestly, I think that is one of the things that keeps a lot of indies away from investing in stuff like this, because there is a fear of the response that may come, and there being no control over it. And it is scary and it is hard. And if you're very sensitive to critical responses, it's going to be hard. Because let me also be frank with you. I don't know the audience on Edelweiss. I've never used Edelweiss for this. The audience on Book Sirens was fairly nice. Fairly nice. Netgalley is harsh. Netgalley can be so hard to please. There is such a variety of people. I cannot tell you the different personalities on there because it is just such a wide variety, again, of people. I don't have any better way to describe it. So just prepare yourself for the wide variety of people that you will find on there. Prepare accordingly, respect genre expectations, respect genre cover desires and professionalism. If you look self-published next to the non-self-published stuff, probably going to get less clicks. Oh, and also, I think the more that you use Netgalley, the more it'll help you because you'll start getting more name recognition in general. With every new book that you put out, you're going to get more name recognition, so people are going to get used to seeing you. But if you're doing a series especially, that'll help because your book will continue to show up in the same genre. Your name will continue to show up in the same genre, and you'll keep getting exposure that way. So if you're going to do something like that, I highly recommend using Netgalley regularly to continually put your name in front of these people so that people notice you. If you have other ways to build audiences, that can work as well, especially if you would like to curate who your ARC readers are so that you can have a higher rating when you go out the floodgates. A lot of people prefer that. I mean, we would all prefer that all of our books are universally loved, but that's just not how it's going to work. Bottom line is, after like 16 months maybe of using Netgalley, I have maybe 140 to 140 reviews so far, between people that picked a book up off of Netgalley or picked them off somewhere else or even purchased books. I don't know. But building a base and using it to find readers that you never would have found before, highly recommend. Just prepare yourself accordingly, because it is a rough ride. It is a rough ride. Maybe get a friend to be the one to check the email for the reviews so they can just give you the good ones. With that said, I would love to know what your experiences are with Netgalley. Have you tried a Netgalley for your releases if you are a writer? And if you're not a writer but a reader, how have your experiences been with reading? I would love to know all of your thoughts and more down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was somewhat informative. I know it's kind of more like freeform. It's kind of just a casual talk. With all that said, my next book will be hitting Netgalley come February, and it's going to be something completely different than what I've done so far, because it's just going to be like straight satire. No dead people. So keep your eye out for that. I'll be talking about that more as it goes on, but you know, right now it's just time to chill out with Bleed More Body More, because it just came out and I love it. So thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend, and in case you didn't know, we are bringing back Loin Stream. It should happen tomorrow. For real. For real. If I don't see you tomorrow at Loin Stream, have a great weekend and don't die.
Was that Wayland Cross in the trunk? Do you know, or is that something that's still being figured out?
The person in the trunk was not Wayland Cross. Is he in trouble? We don't know who did it, but as the owner of the car, the longer he's missing, the worse it looks for him.
Cross isn't a killer. For the last couple of years, the average number of murders in Baltimore has been over 300, and it's been going up. Mind you, that's only whatever the badges count as official murder, and believe me, there are people that don't count when they die. Wayland? If you're down here, tell me. I'm not talking to the badges, I've been looking for you. They found a body in your trunk, Way. Why? Did you do that? To the left, plain black letters read along the wall. You walked in the corridor. Once that ends, You chose the dark is on the right. My vision goes blurry, flickers black and black and black for longer intervals until I can't see anything at all. I'm not screaming anymore, but my voice echoes back to me. Where the hell am I? You're dead, Josephine. Even smart people do stupid shit sometimes, right?